Hello everybody and welcome to the South Florida Power BI user group. My name is Adriano and I'm your host. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for being here with us for another great presentation today. And before we get started, I would like for you to please take a minute to use the live chat section. Given that we are here and you're watching us live, real time, please take a minute to use the live chat to interact with us, ask questions, interact with other attendees on the user group. And all you have to do is to subscribe to the channel and you're gonna have access to that feature there. Alright, and don't forget, get any questions, just enter in the live chat. Now, if you're watching us afterwards, in other words, it's not the real-time feed, just drop a question in the comment section, as well as, let us know and like the video, share with friends as well. Alright, and this is the worldwide series. As such, we bring presenters from around the world. And today, we have here with us Parvinder Chana, the Power BI guru.
Yes. I love it.
How are you, Parvinder?
I'm always good, my friend. Beautiful weather, no complaints, enjoying every moment.
Good to hear, good to hear. And where are you located at?
I'm in beautiful British Columbia here on the west coast of Canada and in a city called Vancouver. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know that. They said we love Vancouver. So for people who doesn't know where it is, it's almost 2 hours drive from Seattle up to Canada. So Seattle is like for us is going for shopping. That's where I'm from.
All right, good to hear. So you're right here, and about you that is at home watching us, please take a minute. Use the live chat if you're watching us live right now in real time and enter your location. Now, if you are watching after the presentation, also use the comment section and let us know where you are watching us from. So, Parvinder, tell us a bit about your role and what do you do?
Yeah, sure, yeah. I run a consulting company here in Vancouver, which is primarily focused on providing BI solutions on Microsoft Data Platform using Power BI and related tools or either cloud platform, pretty much everything Microsoft. And that's what I'm doing since I started using Power BI when it was made available in preview. Glad I went into this, and that's what I'm doing. Like I have customers all over the world and kind of providing them solutions on Microsoft platform. Yeah.
Awesome, good to hear. And tell us a bit about the presentation today. Just kind of an intro. I know that you are doing the creating paginated reports in Power BI Premium per user.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things, this is an interesting topic for me. I'm actually last 2 years or so working on a paginated report. Even the PPU was not available. A few of my clients who were in a premium capacity using, and they were taking advantage of paginated reports. And I found it with the PPU now, this can be used by wide audience, customers and whatnot. And the specific topic we're going to talk about today is like how we leverage Power BI data set, what kind of things we should take care of when we're using Power BI data set as our data source for paginated reports, and talk about a few of the pitfalls we should be aware of, like best practices and whatnot. What I learned, actually hands-on learning, and I want to share that with the community and everyone who's attending this.
All right. And what do you have in mind for us here today? I know that you just talked about a little bit about it, and we are gonna see. How can I say? Because if I'm not mistaken, this is a new feature here where the premium option is available for the user, right? So this presentation is probably one of the first presentation of its kind.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, this is more going to talk about, since the PPU is very affordable, pricing model from Power BI, where they have a lot more premium feature, which were only available in premium previously. You have to spend like a hell of money, especially if you want to use the paginated reports, for example. And now with the PPU, it really have a bigger reach. So we're going to talk about how we take advantage of paginated reports. If you're a PPU user, like it really opens up a lot more options for you as an end user with paginated report as an operational reporting and Power BI as an analytical reporting, and with in a very affordable kind of a pricing structure. What licensing we have with the PPU?
I see with this new offering, it really opens up a world of, a new world layer for a lot of the
Oh,
consumers. Huh?
totally. A lot of my clients who are waiting for, can't afford premium, they have less number of users, but they want to use this kind of features like paginated reports, and they could not with PPU. It's just opened the whole floodgate of things, and now everybody's excited and using it, and I'm loving it.
All right. We already have some questions coming up, so
Uh,
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 before we get started, I just want to ask, uh, just take a quick look here. Yep, I see the live chat. And hey, we got hello from Needy and Jack. Also, we have the G from Perth, Western Australia.
oh,
And the person says, the G says, hi Parvinder, love your work look. Forward to session on this topic. Uh,
uh,
some people are saying that your voice may be a bit low. I don't know if can you
okay.
adjust a bit your microphone. Is it possible?
I can try, or I can try to speak louder.
All right, and because I raised it over here, so I think it's gonna work out well here. All right. Okay, this setup here, and who else we have? Hey, we have somebody right from the area here, from Florida. Hello,
Oh,
Carmen. And who else is out there that wants to share your location? Remember, use the live chat to enter your questions, interact with us. All right. All right, Parvinder, are you ready to get started?
always. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, folks. Without further ado, here we have Parvinder, the Power BI guru.
Love it. That's
All
my new
right, then.
name.
So you now.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks for amazing introduction. I really appreciate for giving me the opportunity to be here with you guys and speaking in your group here. Thanks a lot, and I hope I always look for an opportunity to share my knowledge, my practical experience, the solution I provide to my customers, how I can share it with other users, other community, and they can take advantage of what I learned. And of course, I learned from the community, and I want to give it back as well. So I always super excited to be on these meetups and to share my knowledge. So I guess you can hear me all right, right? Seems like you were trying to hear me. Is it okay? You can hear me all right?
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna maybe turn off my video and share my screen. Is that good then to go? Perfect. All right. Let me know when you get to see my screen. This is not what I want to show, but this is what I want to show. Let me know if you see PowerPoint presentation. Oh, okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here with me today and spending your whatever part of the world you are from, your morning, evening, afternoon with me here for the next 1 hour or so. It's going to be an interesting topic. I love it, and I will tell you why I love it and why we are talking about that. But before we go there, here is what we're going to cover. There's very few slides, just to set the tone. There's going to be a few slides as to all the things we do, but most of it's going to be more talking about doing the demo and doing things actually in front of you guys here. Um, the agenda here is what we're going to talk about is what is Power BI Report Builder, or also known as, very few people know it's a report. It's actually product is called Power BI Report Builder, but it is mainly known as a paginated report. Why we want to use Power BI data sets in paginated reports. We're going to talk about the report parameters, and if people came from SSRS world and whatnot, they know what these parameters are. We all know what parameters are, and some tips and tricks what I learned when I provided the solution around this technology, and best practices, and of course where to go to learn more. Afterwards, I will share this presentation with Adriano, so he can share with you guys whatever method he has to share it with you guys. Again, about me, as I mentioned, I run a consulting company here in Vancouver. It's under the name of Peritas IT Solution. I have this company for almost now 15, 20 years. Well, it was primarily focused on developing custom applications, but last 5, 6 years, I'm purely focused on BI and especially Power BI, not any other technologies, but on Microsoft Cloud Data Platform. And again, you can always, I love connecting on LinkedIn. It's easy. I'm on Twitter as well, but not very active. A lot of my posts and everything goes on LinkedIn. My phone number is there. I'm a Power BI community super user. I really want to, if you guys not on Power BI community, please do join Power BI community. This is the place where I learned everything what I am today, and this is the place where I go back and share with everyone. Super user was a program started like around 4 or 5 years ago. There were around 10 or 11 super users in the first set of super users when this program started. Since then, almost 5 years, I'm always been a super user, and I'm usually very active on community. So please do, if you have any questions around anything on Power BI or about the Power BI technologies, whether it's a Power BI service, embedded, you name it, you just go and post your questions there. Tons of amazing people who are answering those questions. I highly recommend to be part of Power BI community. And I'm also a Microsoft Data Platform MVP, and I'm very happy to be part of MVP group. And so this is my 3rd year, and I'm enjoying it. All right, that's about me. Okay, my full name is Parvinder Chana, but I put a short name here, Parv Chana. I don't mind whatever you guys want to refer me as, Parv or Parvinder. All right, so let's get started. What is Power BI Report Builder? So basically, it is more about operational reporting. It's not like analytical. It's more of operational reporting, like printing a account statement in a very pages and pages of account statement, or any customer statement, financial statement, so whatever you name it. It's more about use for the operational reporting, where these reports are either exported or printed or PDF or emailed. Maybe printing is not a good idea these days, but still they are very highly formatted. And that's why these reports are known as a pixel perfect, because you actually minutely define, okay, here is the line, this color. You basically kind of take care of each and every section of the report. So you can really, it's also known as a pixel perfect. Again, because these are highly formatted reports, this is good for export and printing, because most of the common scenarios come in the picture is like in Power BI, you create a metrics visual, and if you want to export it, you can't export it because it will be a flattened table, and it comes in a CSV file, and you can't do anything. But with Power BI paginated reports, you can actually, the look and feel you want, you can achieve that. So under the hood, it is SSRS being moved over to Power BI Report Builder. SSRS become kind of mature in Power BI platform as a report builder. So if you are an SSRS guy today, and I was an SSRS person for many years, And for me, it was easy to switch to Power BI Report Builder and start using it. But one of the challenge and the reason why we are here today in this presentation is connecting Power BI Report Builder with Power BI data set. It brings totally new dimension to it. It's not like the same thing as SSRS. You directly connect to the SQL Server and run a query and all the stuff. If you are connecting your Power BI Report Builder to your SQL Server or any other data sources, it's the same experience as it's in SSRS. You have the knowledge you have, you can carry on that knowledge in this platform as well. But as soon as you switch from SSRS to Paginated Report to Power BI data set, there is a little bit learning involved and some things we need to be aware of. And that's what we are going to talk about. That's the core of our discussion today in this presentation. There is one special function. If you guys, everybody uses, if you're using Power BI today desktop, there's tons of DAX functions. Maybe you never came across this. Is called RS Custom DAX Filter function. This is very specific to Power BI Report Builder. Basically, it is used to pass multiple values to a parameter, and we will look into that. So maybe you never came across this particular DAX function, but this is being used in paginated reports or the report builder. Okay. So what is Power BI data set? Again, if you are from the Power BI as in a background, so for example, Power BI has three things, in my opinion, in summary. You connect to a data source, you do the modeling and all that stuff. You make sure your model is right to deliver your analytical reports like a relationship. You write measures, everything. Once you have your Power BI data set, then on top of that, you visualize the data for analytical purpose. And these days, what we do is mostly, I'm pretty sure you guys all also do the same thing. We have a data set being built or multiple data sets being built, and then we create reports connected to live Power BI data sets. And with the composite model, now we have a lot more options, but to keep it simple, so we have the data set separate from our reporting. Now, since the hard work is being done in the data set, why not take and leverage that for our operational reporting as well? So that's where the power comes in. If you have a business logic developed in your measures, you're maintaining one data set in Power BI, it's getting regularly refreshed, either incremental refresh or schedule refresh or whatever you're doing, all the business logic is there, data is clean, all the dimensions, relationships, measures, all the business rules has been applied in the measures. Not only you can use it for your Power BI analytical reportings, but now you can take advantage of that data set which you are maintaining and putting your efforts into it. You can use it for the operational reporting using Report Builder or Paginated Reports. And that's where it's very, very important. So you have one single place where all your data is cleaned and it's operational modeled. Business rules has been applied, calculation has been done, how you calculate the gross profit, how you calculate the revenue, how you calculate the expenses, whatever the use case is, it's already being done. You have the data set, and operational reporting is now Report Builder is just giving you the opportunity to, instead of analytical purposes, but for operational purpose, use the same data set and provide the reporting to the respective users of the department, whatever the use case. So that's why I think it's very, very powerful that you have one single data set or multiple data sets and used for both analytical and operational reporting. And I've implemented many solutions. I found a lot of value in doing this. And again, as I said, with SSRS, we traditionally connected directly to the sources, the SQL or OD3 or ODBC or whatever the different connectors are available. But again, they are in a silo, kind of becomes that a queries within that report. And so this gives us one single data set and fill that feed to the both kind of reporting. So, but it does need a little bit more kind of a learning and how we use Power BI data set. What are the best practices to bring that in our operational reporting? So that's what we're going to look into. what I'm gonna do from here is I'm gonna show you guys in a quick. You still see my screen there? Okay. I'm just gonna quickly talk about the data set we're gonna work into. This is just a simple sales report. I think it's built on AdventureWorks. I'm just gonna quickly go over a model. Adriano, before I move forward, is there any question right now at this point in time, or are we good? Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, it's a very simple data set which we're gonna work on. So basically, typical scenario, we have a sales fact table, and we have a calendar table, we have product and customer. So that's kind of our data set. What I did on this one is I just created a Power BI report just to show the context around it. And now this has been published in the cloud in Power BI service. Again, I will show my Power BI service account here, not this one, but this one. If you guys look here, so same report has been published here and whatnot. So there's of course the report has the data set and whatnot. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect to this data set and take some use cases and build a paginated report. So again, this is called Power BI Report Builder. There's no concept of paginated report, but known as a paginated report. But if you search Power BI Paginated Reports, it will bring to you the report builder. So here again, one of the things I wanna to make sure the level set here is I'm not gonna explain here or talk about about developing paginated reports in general, like how summarize data or whatnot. It's more about talking about what are the ways to connect Power BI Report Builder to Power BI data sets and certain things like parameters and DAX queries and all that stuff. I'm going to look into that. It's not about developing actual reports in paginated and whatnot. So I'm going to go. So when you go in a report builder, you have the option to again, this is free to download. You can download it today. And start connecting to your data set. But we will look into the licensing part later in the presentation. So when you go in a report builder, you have the option to connect to the Power BI data set connection. Now, here is one thing we have to be very, very careful. It's sometimes very confusing. And I was very, very confused when I started working with this. Let me go back to my Power BI service. So in Power BI service, we all know what we have is, let me go to this workspace. So we go to data set. So this is our data set. Like when I publish the report, the report has two aspects of like a report itself, the content, and then the data set. So in Power BI, it is called Power BI service. It's called data sets, right? So as you can see, this is our data sets, and so these are the various data sets. We're going to connect to this data set. Keep this in mind, in Power BI service, it is called data set. But when it comes to report builder, the terms interchange a little bit. So let me show you how. So now we go new Power BI data set connection. Of course, I'm logged in. Similar like Power BI service, you have to log into your tenant. Here, I'm logged in my tenant. If I'm working with my client tenant and I need to log in as their tenant account, and so that I can see the data sets published under their tenant. Again, the workspace rules and all the stuff I'm not going to go into. If you are logged in and if there's 10 workspaces, so you're only part of the permission to see one workspace, you can only see those data. So all the permissions which are in Power BI service does flow through what you can see here in when you're connecting to Power BI data set. So so Power BI data set connection. So again, it's going to show me all my workspaces here. So the workspace which I'm going to look into is the Meetup Paginated. Again, this is a PPU. We will talk about that. So I'm going to connect to the data. As you can see, those data sets being shown here. So I go to connect to my data set. So now here is where the confusing part, which I was talking about the data sets and all the stuff. In Report Builder, it is called the data sources. It is not the data set. So data set is a query or a table in Report Builder, whereas in Power BI, it is Power BI Service. It's called data set is like your whole model and the data in there. So data source is a connection to your data set in Power BI Service. So that's kind of the terms are interchanged. You can't say this data set mean here in the Report Builder, same data set what is in the Power BI Service. So here data source is a connection to your data set, which is published in Power BI. And the data sets would be the queries, which we then pull from that Power BI data set to develop our report and whatnot. So I just want to make sure this is a little bit, because if you say somebody a data set generally, in Power BI Report Builder, data set means something different. In Power BI, it's different. So be careful about it. The terms, I think, because this is traditionally from SSRS, this is how it has been, and it just came over to Report Builder as well. So data source, now we are connected to Power BI data set. And again, I want to be very careful I'm using these terms correctly. So I'm connected to Power BI data set, and on top of that, this is just a connection, like it's like a connected to SQL Server or connected to Oracle or connected to whatever other data sources you have. So this is just merely a connection. And now we need to create the queries to pull the data to visualize here in Report Builder. So what you're going to do, see here it says add data sets. Now, whereas in Power BI Service, different meaning. So I go add data set. So what does it mean is it's going to say write your query. So I can give it a name or whatever we want to name it to that data set. So let's call it a demo one, for example. Now, of course, my data source is what my connection is. So that's a connection to my Power BI data set. So let's start with OK. So, oh, hang on a second, I did something wrong. So demo two, this, and then I go to Query Designer. I need to go to the Query Designer. None of these will work if you're using Power BI data set as your data source. So be careful. Not like text, you can type it in here. I guess you can. I never tried it, but there's no concept of stored procedure table, so it's only text. So we're going to go to the Query Designer. So what you're going to see here is the model which we built in Power BI Desktop. Again, I'm going to go back to the model while this is loading. So this is our model. We see all our tables on the side, like, of course, my years, my dimension tables and whatnot. And when we are connected to our data set in Report Builder, we see all those dimensions and fractions in here as well. So again, this is if you're an SSR from the SSRS world, it's the same experience. You're connected to a analysis service model, and then you're building the query from here. So in my first demo, what I'm going to do is to show you something very simple. I've seen people fail here and they say, okay, this doesn't work, and I will show you why. So for example, here I want is a very, very simple thing. I want a list of customers and I want a list of products, for example. So again, this list of customer and product is coming from the data model, what we build in Power BI Desktop. So it's a very simple thing. So I can execute the query and see the results. So it's a simple thing. I want this thing. I say, okay. And what it is going to do, once you connect to your data model and you select your year columns or whatever, it's basically at the end of the day, write your DAX query behind the scene. Like if you guys using DAX Studio and whatnot, you can actually write this query in DAX Studio and it can return you the result. So it's basically from that selection of the columns and the measures, what we did, it developed this query for us, or DAX code for us, and then we can say okay. Now, here again, this is not about designing a report and all the stuff. What I'm going to do is, okay, I'm going to add a table metrics here, insert table here. So I go, I want a customer and I want a product. So if I run this, there's no parameters and nothing. What's going to happen? It's going to take forever to load, or actually it will never load. And I will tell you guys why. This is where when you're working with Power BI data sets, you have to be a little bit careful when you're designing these queries and whatnot. I'm going to stop it. I know it's not going to work, and I will show you why. Let's see if I can stop it. I can go back to design, stop. So I'm going to go back to my demo one. Okay, it's stopping. All right. Yes, I closed it and it's still trying to stop it, but I guess we have to wait for it to finish the process. The interaction with this is a little bit not as, it takes time. Again, this is a live connection to the data set. It takes a while for it to take an action sometimes. So here it is now, it is stopped. So what I'm going to go back to, so again, of course, I can right click and go back to my query, or I can go to dataset properties. It will show me what the query was. I can go back to query designer. But what I'm going to do here is just to show you the demo, why this is not working and what is the fix for this if we wanted to do this. So I'm going to do here is, again, it was showing us our both customer and product. So I'm going to search for customer here. In my field list, I'm going to take the customer to, this is again, if you are a SSRS thing user, you know this is for parameters. So I'm saying, okay, I want to create that from dimension contain customer, create a parameter equal to, here I'm going to pick some values, and you will see those values coming from our data model. It will list all the customers. So let's pick 2 or 3. So basically what I'm doing is I'm pre-filtering on these 3 customers, for example, for this particular query or data set in Power BI Report Builder. Say okay. And it's going to rewrite this query, as you will see, since I filtered that. And you can see right now the current query looks like this. And now it has added a filter. It's like you're writing a DAX code. So it's pretty much filtered on dim customer for these 3 customers. And say, okay. So now let's run this. So we have a now very small list of customers, very small list of demo 1. Delete that. So what you guys will see here is what it is doing. It's like a full auto join between a customer and product. So because initially when I haven't sorted, when I haven't filtered the product customer, it was trying to, let's say if there's a 200 customer, 300 customer, and 300 products. It's like a full join between those, because the reason why it is like people, I ran, so many people ask me like, okay, we just want the list and it will take forever. If you have like a 10,000 customer and 20,000 products, it's like a full join. Think about each customer has all the products and how big of that query is going to be. And the reason behind that is because it does a full join. This is a DAX query, so we have to have a measure in between. And I don't want to go too much into DAX, but we know in the DAX, if there is a blank measure value, it doesn't list that row for us. We have to force it. So to fix this thing, the best practice, one of the way to achieve this thing is I will go back to my Power BI. If I don't know how to write a DAX code, again, I might not be a DAX expert and whatnot, I can go back to my Power BI report. What I want to do is I want to achieve the same thing. I want to like, okay, customer, same thing as the customer here, and now I want a product. When I go do this in Power BI desktop, it is smart enough, like it works perfectly fine immediately, and it shows everything. Now, what it does is it shows every visual we do in Power BI desktop. If you are doing the Power BI desktop development, it writes a DAX code behind the scene, which we can now grab and use in Power BI Report Builder. If you don't know how to write a DAX, this is the best way. Come in Power BI desktop, create your visual, what you're looking for, and then we go in view performance analyzer. We start according, refresh visual, and we have only one table. So if we go here in the table, we say there's a query underneath, and we take a copy of that query. So just in a notepad, if we look at this, in Power BI, when it wrote the query, it did automatically filter and count rows, sales, and don't want to go into this code, but it does everything. But when we were in a report builder, it did not write a query like this way. It's simple, a full join between customer and product, and that's why it was not running. So now since we have this query here, which is working fine, we can take this code and this query and go back to our report builder and say, okay, in a demo 2, we go in a query. And again, we're going back to our query designer because we want to write our own now. If you haven't manually added the query, it will take you to that same whole model and all the stuff, since it goes back where we originally selected our customer product and filter on this. So what I can do is I can actually go in a design mode. So and write my own queries here. So it's in a design mode here. Is it called design mode? Yeah, it's in a design mode. So it's basically now here I can add the query the way I want it. Now, be careful. If you once you get in a design mode and you added the query here, you cannot go back to the wizard where you can select these fields. So then everything has to be done manually. So now I can take this off and put my new query in, the one which we copied from Power BI Desktop. So it has everything. A couple of things in Power BI Desktop, I have filtered it on for Canada and United States. It brings everything in there. I can remove this. I don't want this filter, for example. So I don't need to worry about anything else because it has taken care of everything. One other thing it does is in Power BI, it only show top 501 rows, but here we don't need to worry about that. I'm gonna remove that. So this is the final output, evaluate and primary windows, which was at this particular top 5. So now I remove this, and it means I need to change my final output to DS0 core. So I'm gonna, this is to DS0 core is a core variable, which contains that table, and now order by customer product if I want to order differently. In this case, it doesn't matter because in report builder you can change how you want to. But yeah, if you have a order by here, it will follow the same in report builder. So if I execute the query here, I probably will see the same result. Filter table. Okay, so we removed another filter, which was a filtering on US and Canada. So we should remove it from here as well. That was a variable. Again, so if we run it again, this is DAX code. If I did not, again, I just want to make sure that I show you guys here. My visuals here in Power BI Desktop, I have filtered it on Canada and USA, and that's why this filter went in the DAX query. But if I don't want it, I should remove it from the desktop or remove it from here. So now I can see this query ran pretty quick, similar as desktop. I go on OK. And now my new data set, or demo 2 query connected to Power BI data set, has the DAX code query, which was done in Power BI Desktop, customer and product. And I don't have to write any code. It's already been done by Power BI Desktop. I just copied it here. Once it finished running that. So now if I run it, it should be much quicker because it's not now full join. It's filtering, as you can see, customer and product for that customer. So the reason for I want to show this is I ran into this issue, and so many people ask this question. Hey, I'm connecting to model, I'm bringing this thing, but it takes forever, it never works, and whatnot. So you need to bring the measure in there. And in this particular case, we didn't added any measure, but if you look at the query very closely, it's basically calculating measure on the fly and filtering those things out. So that's what this query is doing. So yes, that's a good time for the questions.
Hello everybody, and just a quick interruption here. We'll be asking a question in just a second. Please remember, use the live chat to enter your questions here for Parvinder about the presentations, and we have a few here. Let me get back here to him, and remember, use the live chat, like, subscribe, and share the presentation. So first question here, Parvinder, is can the Power Premium per user still access and create pro workstations for users?
Power BI Premium per user can still create pro workspaces for the user? Yes.
All right.
So the workstation is associated with the PPU backed capacity. So any artifacts in that workspace has been published. The users who need permission to use that PPU, because what happens is at the time of the creation of the workspace, you tell whether it's a part of the PPU or not. If you're a PPU user, I have the option whether I want PPU or not PPU.
All right. So I think that's pretty straightforward. That is clear, meaning a straightforward answer. I mean, next question is: do you get clients to purchase a Power BI Premium license for you, so you can access or manage their tenant as a consultant?
Great question. Usually I have there's a B2B concept, right? So they can bring my account parvinder@peritas.com, and they can give me all the permissions on their tenant, let's say xyz.com. But the challenge here is that's why if you're in a cloud, you have the option to log into any tenant with your own account. Let's say parvinder@peritas.com can log into, if a permission is given, let's say the other tenant is xyz.com, I can surely log into that. But in Power BI Desktop or in Power BI Report Builder, there is no concept of connecting to a tenant. So when it comes to the authoring of the reports, if I'm managing in the cloud, yes, they don't need to provision an account for me. But if I'm developing anything for them, especially this report builder or Power BI Desktop, as we all know, if I go here and try to switch an account, it's asking me the username and password. So basically, based on the username, it takes default to my tenant. There's no way to tell here that which tenant you want to log in. So that's the challenge. Most of my clients, they give me a account in their tenant so that I can do this kind of development.
Yeah, so because the person is saying on a business to business, B2B does not allow access to data source management as your account being a guest. But I believe you just said that they issue an account, and with that account from the business itself is what you're using to manage, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right, so that clarifies there, and I believe answered the question. And if not, DG, just follow up here and let us know if you answer your question there.
Yeah.
Let me see the next question here. There is a kind of comment / a question, right? So the G says, I have found this release to be a bit buggy anyone else has found this. And by asking it to, define buggy, right? So the person said random crashes and having to restart the report so data appears after changing the design. Sometimes this is the workaround.
To be very honest, I'm using Power BI Report Builder quite a bit now. One of my clients is very heavy on Power BI Report Builder. That's how I fall in love with it. Otherwise, I didn't want to go back into this at all. I never had that experience. I, I, I don't know what to say. I mean, for me, it's very stable. If I guess you guys were running into this issue, you could be reporting it to Microsoft. But for me, I'm using Report Builder for almost 2 years and a half now. I think 3 or 4 upgrades happen in between. Maybe once in a blue moon, though that can happen with any product, but not like that consistent that I'm freaking out about this thing.
All right, good. And all right, the person mentioned here is also on another note. I think multi-user tenant access for consultant is important.
100%. That's surely, I guess every time we have this thing, I always, it's always good opinion to go to ideas.powerbi.com, put share an idea there and publicly ask for people to vote for it, and then so that it gets to the Power BI product team, and then they look into this. 100%. For me, I'm probably on average, I have like 15 to 20 projects going on all the time, and I'm always struggling logging between different environment and Power BI desktop. Just running around like logging to the different things. It's so painful sometimes. Yeah, 100% agree.
All right, folks, just remember, subscribe, enter, go to the live chat, drop your question or comment, and let us know. And we'll keep an eye out here for the live chat. On the next break, we will pick up those questions. And we are back at you, Parvinder.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Continuing on this journey here, I'm going to talk about, so I think this is more about like how we get the DAX code if you don't know and you're trying to connect to the Power BI dataset. You do develop what you want to see here in Power BI Report Builder. Go in Power BI Desktop, create a visual, filter everything what you want to do there, take the DAX code, bring it here, and paste it, and your query is ready. If something doesn't, you don't know how to write it. If you know, you can surely come back and change here. Okay, so I'm going to continue here with the new. So let's go with. I'm going to talk about parameters. I really ran into this issue quite a bit. Again, it's a lack of my knowledge, or maybe I didn't know certain things how to do it, but I found it was tough to do, and I want to hear it how I solved for it. Maybe you have a better way to do it. Send comments, and but here I'm going to go into again connecting to. I started a new file, and here what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create again a data set. So very simple example. I'm going to, let's say, same thing, query designer. Again, this interface is pretty straightforward. There's nothing fancy about that, but I'm going to go back to connect to my data model, which is published in the cloud. Again, this whole session is all about using Power BI dataset because everything is done in Power BI. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to say, okay, we want customer. And then take the same example, product. Now here we don't want to write the query, but now we can bring the measure. So we can say I have a sales measure, which is simply again going back to Power BI desktop just to show you guys what the sales measure is. It's just a sum of sales amount, and again sales and customer and product. So going back to report builder. So we have a customer product sales. So if I want a customer as my parameter, again, you can, as I said, the upper section is for parameters, so I can customer bring it here in my parameter pane. So here is, you can give the filter expression here, but if you check mark here, in previously we did not, so this becomes a parameter. Again, I think this behavior is similar to what is in SSRS. So I said, okay, check mark this parameter, so I go okay. And what it is going to do for us is it's going to create this query, the DAX code underneath for us, and we'll wait for that. So one thing you will now notice here is, I think I mentioned about RS custom DAX filter. So this function is pretty much what it's saying is, the core of this is the multiply selection from the parameters get converted into a DAX code to filter the data set. So that's what this special function is getting used. So I go, okay. So now you will see there is a parameter, dim customer by default it's created. So if we visualize this thing, I'm going to table, insert a table here. 3 columns are the customer, product, and of course sales. Now, one more thing you have to be careful. It does not bring the format from our underneath data model. So as you can see, the ID sales, whatever the name it gives, because I said a dollar sales, my measure name, but I think it doesn't like that. It only converts into ID underscore sales. It does not bring the format. If you go back to our Power BI desktop, I'm going to switching back and forth. So it's a currency 0 decimal places. The format is currency, but here it took it as a, I think it take it as a string. I don't know exactly. So what we need to change here, the type of this to currency, and maybe we need to write a line to these guys. So if I run this report, what's going to happen is now here, of course, we have a customer parameter will show up, and it is now the interface in the report development is a little bit not that good. Whereas once this report is published in the cloud, it's a much nicer experience. So now I can select if multiple select is on, I can select and I can view report, and it's only going to show me for those 4 customers what I select. So those 4 customers, sales by product and whatnot. So very simple report. I can change the parameter property if I want the blank value or not. I want multiple value. Again, this is similar experience as in SSRS. But what happens is behind the scene here, if I go into my data sets, it creates, there's an option called show hidden data set. So when we put the customer as our parameter, it created a query underneath. We can actually look into this data set properties. It's basically this query, it has generated to populate that parameter list. Automatically, it's a hidden. So if you go into the parameter, in parameter properties, if you go in available values, you will see it says, okay, I'm connected to this data set. This is the value field and this is the label field. So it's taking care of all that stuff behind the scene. So it works great. It's doing the job for us, but let's do one more thing here, just to showcase what I'm trying to do. Now, let's say we have a customer, and now we also want a parameter for product. So I can go back to my query. And because right now we have only filtering on a customer, but I also want to filter on a product. And what I will do here is I go back to my query designer. I go, okay, search for my product here. Bring it into my parameter pane. Again, I have to make sure I check my parameters. So this becomes a parameter. So now I have 2 parameters, customer and product. Say okay. So it's gonna redo the code for me. So one thing you notice now, it didn't show that window. The reason behind that is 2 ways. If I go straight to the query, it takes me to the data model. But if I go data set properties, first it shows me the query, and then I can go to the query designer. And if I close the query, if I go through this path, then I end up with, I have to come through the screen as well when I close my from data model. So now you can see there is a two RS custom text filter. One is for the customers and one is for the product. So anyway, we're not changing anything here. So as you can see now, there are two parameters. And if we go in a hidden data sets, now it automatically have a customer list, which is associated with the customer parameter, and the product, which is associated. If we look at the parameter property available value, so product taking that query hidden by default. So now this is great. I can go here, run, and now we'll have two parameters. One is customer, one is product. So perfect. Now I turned on the single select. So add an add-on, for example. So it's going to populate the product table. Now, here is the thing. When I'm selecting the add and add-on, so this is working fine as expected. I can select multiple products and whatnot. It will only show me add and add-ons sales for those products what I have selected here. If I don't select, I have to select all or whatnot. So the challenge here is that from the user experience point of view, it is showing me all the products in my list. It's not filtering those products only for that particular customer. And to see that, if we go back in our Power BI report and we bring the sales here, we have a customer and product here. And if we put the slicer, for example, for our customer in our Power BI report, we say, or maybe we don't. So if I go on add and add-ons, I selected the same customer. We have only 4 products. What he has purchased or has been sold to him. But going in Power BI Report Builder, I'm seeing all the products. I'm not seeing only the products. Sorry, this is for a demo. I'm not seeing only the products what this customer has purchased. So this list is long, and user can select them. Now don't know which one to select, which one not. So why not we make this parameter list to be shorter, which is based on the selected customer. So to do that, what we can do here is, so this is where another things I learned with time. So we can add another data set. So what we're going to do in this data set, we're going to call it, let's say, product list. From the same data source, we go in a query designer. So what we're going to do here is, because we want the product list as a part of our parameter, we're going to say product. Now, this is going to list all the products, but because we know how Power BI works is, like, again, just to make sure that we all are on the same page, if I try to do the same thing here in my in Power BI, so if I go product, it is listing all the products. But as soon as I add a measure, it's only listing those products which have sales. So see, the list is only like maybe 200 products. Otherwise, it's listing everything. So same thing. So that's where we need to make sure when we are building the queries in the report builder, we are not just, if I just go in the report builder and just pick the product, no, it's going to list everything. It's not going to solve any problem what we're trying to solve here. If we wanted to show only those products which has been sold. So we're going to do is, with this, we are also going to add that measured sales. So we have said, okay, give me the product which has the sales, because this is how the DAX query works. But what we're going to do on this as well, we're going to say filter this thing on the customer as well. So we're just going to go customer and parameter. So again, I'm going to switch back and forth to showcase this. And so now we have the product here. What we think, okay, product, it's giving me the list of the products which has a sale, but then we're going to go customer here as in a slicer. And for example, as a slicer, so if I pick Aaron Adams, it's only giving me those products which have a sales for Aaron Adams. So the same thing what we're trying to do here on the Power BI side. So we have product and sales and filter on that then customer as a parameter. So when we go OK now here, so again, it's going to go through the process of doing that behind the scene query for us, DAX code. If I can bring this code and straight write it down here, I mean, through the designer. So again, it did whatever it need to do. So I go OK. So now I have a product list. So what I need to do here is if I go to my product parameters and I tell it, okay, the available values are not from the dim product, which is created by default by itself. I said I want it from my product list, which I created, and I want a product column, my label field and the value field, and go OK. So now let's see. How does this work? What we should be seeing here is when we select a customer, it will still show only the product for that customer. So if I go Aaron Adams, and at this point of time, it's go back and filter the product based on my customer selection. So if I go in a product, it's only showing me those 4 products which Aaron Adams has been sold to, right? So now I don't have that long list of things which was shown before. So this is kind of cascading parameters. I don't know, I don't remember because I worked in SSRS long time ago how it used to work, and I think you create a special view and then filter on that and whatnot. But this is how you do it here. So pretty much now what we. But again, if I have a multiple customer selected, it will give me the list of both the customers. So for example, if I go back here, I have a Aaron and Aaron Alexander selected, or few more selected. The list is going long. So this is now 7, 8, or 10 products. It's going to be the same behavior. If I go back here into my report, so I go design, I go dim customer parameter property, allow multiple values to my customer, and then go OK. If I go run, and this is where the RS custom DAX filter is coming in the picture. The multiple values we are selecting, it is passing those to filter our data set behind the scene. So if I go here now, I'll select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for example, same what we selected in desktop. So this product list is now much more longer based on the number of customers. So it shows basically all the products sold to those customers selected here. So that's part of cascading parameters. How you basically create cascading parameters, how you give your own query what you want to list in the parameter. Like for example, if you want to exclude certain kind of products from this selection list, you can, like for example, if I go to my product list here, which I'm using for my parameter, I go in a query, I can go here and let's say if I say I only want that parameter list to show certain kind of categories and whatnot, I can pre-filter that list and it will only, like for example, I want this to be filtered, my product to be filtered by customer, but I think I have a category column. Hopefully I do. So yeah, product category. I just want to make sure how it is connected in the model to make sure. So product has a product subcategory, only the key. So I didn't bring the value, but let's see. So I can say here, if I had that as a product subcategory key, and I can pre-filter that. Okay, I don't want this to be a parameter, but I want to pre-filter so I can select those values if I have the name and all the stuff. Okay, so only in the parameter show the list of these product categories, the product belongs to these categories on top of the customer we have selected. So, but in this case, I don't want this to be in a parameter, so I don't check this out. So that's kind of how you cascade parameters, bring your own queries to the parameter list, and you can further tweak it. And you can take the advantage of Power BI desktop and come back and work through that. All right. I know this is going a little bit longer than expected. There's a few more things I want to show, but are there any questions at this point in time?
Hello, everybody, and remember to use the live chat to enter your questions as you are watching here in real time. And if you are watching this presentation afterwards, please just enter your question in the comment section below the video. And I do not see a question here. I do see that, and I hope I'm from Nakisa. She's saying hi from Montreal. How about that, Prav?
Oh, wow.
You know.
I'm from Canada. Awesome.
Yes. But I do not have a question per se, so it's all you know.
Sounds good. There are a few more things I want to show, but let's start with one, and I'll check if people want to hang. I don't have any problem, but we can hang longer if needed to. So I'm going to start a new report again, going back to Power BI Report Builder, which really I found it very interesting to solve in a common scenario. Again, I'm going to my data set connection. So going back to my workspace, so paginated report and select. So this is my connection to my data set. So let's start with a simple query design. So in this case, what I want is I want to find a sales between two ranges. So sales between January 1st to January, like within a date range kind of thing. So let's see how does that work out and what are the problems and how we solve it. So again, let's say again we want a sales by customer, but within a date range, for example. Sorry. So again, I start with what I want to see. I want a customer and I want a sales. Simple things. And now I want in a date range. Again, we all know the value of the date dimension table in our model. I have spoken in a few events where I talked about why calendar table is so important to the model and whatnot. So I'm not going to go into that. So we have a calendar dimension, which is like connected to our sales table, and it's connected on date key, on order date key. Of course, it is also connected on inactive on a due date key. But anyway, so when I use the order date key, so what we want is like we want to have the sales within those date range. So we go back here. What we do is we pick the date from now date is our dimension in our parameters. If I want to see the date in my table as well, I can bring it down here as well, but to keep it simple. So again, this is my parameter. So I'm going to have a first check mark becomes a parameter. Now, again, because this is within the range, so I want it to be not the equal. I want it to be range inclusive or exclusive, depending what you want to do, but we say inclusive, so start and end date. When you select the range inclusive, so your parameter is now both these things lit up, right? So you can, the first one is for the start and the second one is for the end. So it's a simple thing. So I did that, and I'll go OK. And now you will, it will do the query, this DEX code for us, or DEX query for us. So it wrote this complicated query, and I have no single clue what this is. I tried to understand it, but it was over complicated. But let's continue with it. Since it's been done, so now here is his user experience, which is so painful. It listed all the dates. So if I want to, it's not a calendar, because for behind the scene, it's all text, right? It's a list of all like 10 years, or depending on number of dates I have in my calendar table now. There's no way it's easy to select from January 1st, 2020 to whatever the date range I want. So this is really, really painful. When I saw work on that, I have to come across this thing where we want this to be developed. So it works. I can surely select the date range, but the selection of the dates is super duper complicated and not a great experience. Again, because it doesn't know that the format that column is a date type. It doesn't automatically convert into calendar and whatnot. So this is what we're going to do with this thing. Is like again, the query again. We go back in here. We look at data set properties. It did all that stuff. I don't want to go. I know what it's doing, but I don't want to go into this. So what we should be doing here is, again, Power BI Desktop is our friend here. We go back to Power BI Desktop. We go and now what we want is we want the query, which is like start and end date range, and by customer and the sales. So I think I already have over here. I think I created it upfront. So I created this thing like I created a date filter from my date table, simple thing slicer, and then customer and sales. So what I would do, I go in view, performance analyzer, start recording, refresh visual, and I need this table query. I don't care about what is in the slicer query. I just need this table query. So if I go and copy the query, and let's quickly look at it in a notepad, it's much simpler. So basically, it defined a variable with the filter on start and based on the date range it has selected. It of course United States and Canada, because that's filter in my Power BI report, and then this is the final output. So this is way cleaner looking query. So why don't we use this in there? And what we need to do is just to replace these two things with our parameters and make it work. So what we're going to do is take this thing and go back to our report builder. So we are only looking at the query. So I go in a query designer. I think the first thing I will do is I will let me make sure I follow the steps the way it's supposed to be done. Nothing wrong with this, but I just want to make sure that I'm not. I'm going to add two new parameters. So I can manually add my parameters. So I can add a parameter called a, let's say, date. That's a prompt. And now here I can give it a type, date time, because when I give it a date time, so it's a much cleaner kind of look and feel. Let's take a look at it. Say okay. So if I run this now, and so as you can see here, sorry, I should not have selected that. So it has a calendar. So it's much easier if we have this experience for user to select the start and end range and whatnot. So we can take advantage of this. So what we can do is we get a from date, and then we can have a new parameter called date. Again, the type of this would be date and time. Okay. And then I don't need these parameters because we are not using that. So we're going to remove those. So now we have a from and date and this query. But the problem here is if we go back in our query, the query is looking into those two parameters from calendar date and whatnot. I can rename these ones and use that. But what I can do here is simply go in a query designer. Come on. So I go in a query designer here. So we already took the code from Power BI. Paste here. So it's a nicely formatted code. And what we want to do is, instead of these fixed things, we want it to be changed with our parameter name. I think that's from date and to date. So this will be date value from date parameter. And if we want inclusive, so we're gonna maybe date to date parameter. So that's the same. So we can remove this thing. And now one thing here, be very, very careful, which I really wanted to talk about. When you copy the query from Power BI, it's a bad design, I would say. It put the table name next to the measure. As a best practice, you should, every time you work with the Power BI measure, never put a table name with the measure. But every time you're using a column, always put a table name with the measure. So here $sales is a measure, but because it is residing in a my measure table, when we run the query here, it automatically put the table name in there. So that's really bad practice, because tomorrow if you move the measure to a different table, your queries will break. So every time when you're copying the queries from Power BI into Report Builder or anywhere else, as a matter of fact, make sure you remove the table name, which it does. So I'm removing this. I don't want it. So we have a filter. So our core query. So filter tables. I'm going to remove this filter table too, which is Canada USA filtered. So I don't want that. So windowed, it's only show 501 pop. I don't need in this case, doesn't matter. So I just get my this variable. Okay. Ooh, and I know why. When you're creating, you're editing the query here, it does not allow you to, interesting, it doesn't show you the from calendar. It's showing us the old, um, old, actually, maybe this is what I think too. And within the query, I can remove these. And I can have the form date. So that belongs to calendar date. And that belongs to calendar. And the column is date. Column is date. Now here you cannot, you can't, you have to give the default value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say call, or maybe pick any date. So I'm going to say, okay. So at this point of time, I think it should work. If it doesn't, then we will look into what's happening there. So now again, when I close it, it's gonna come back to our this designer. So it means the query is being seems like okay. Okay. All right. So now we have our we create a table here, same thing. Insert table, our customer, our sales, for example. I'm not gonna worry too much about formatting this point on. If I run it now, what I have is I have a from and date. I mean, now much more better experience. I can go by, I think my data is back in, I don't remember what the data is. 2012, 2013. So I can type in here. So 2013, 01, 01. So now the experience to pass the filter value in this particular scenario is much cleaner and all the stuff. So basically what happens is with the DAX, we created our own parameters, not connected to any, especially in the date case. And because we want to give this look and feel, and then we use those parameters, edited the query and pass these parameters in the query. So that's kind of one of the, otherwise it's not a great experience to have the list of all the dates and the user to select from this. All right. Just want to talk about one more thing to how to publish. Now, there's so many other things I want to show, but I don't think we have enough time. It's already been quite half an hour above given time. So until, do we have any questions before I just wrap it up? Okay, beautiful. Yeah, so one other thing is the paginated report is only available. Sorry, go ahead.
Hi folks, remember, use the live chat, enter your questions here as Parvinder is reaching to its final stretch on the presentation. Just take these minutes here and enter your question here at the live chat. It's back to you, Parvinder.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so one of the things which we wanted to talk about is the paginated report or the report builder is only available in premium capacities, right? So either it's a PPU or Power BI dedicated capacity. So if it's a PPU, so let me quickly show you guys here. For example, if I go to my tenant in Power BI, if you look at the workspaces, I have a premium, which is diamond, of course, premium with a human next to it is icon is a PPU capacity, and others are not. So if I try to publish this report, let's say this report, I'll go. I think this is a new experience published. Before it was save as, so now it's a publish. So when I try to publish this thing, it shows me all the workspaces. So let's say if I want to, in demo city of Florence, here I want to publish. Again, then I have to give the name, whatever the local file is called demo is something this can be totally different. I say I keep the same name, demo, I save it, and unable to save the workspace because it's not a premium workspace. And if I go back to my premium capacity, or in this case, this is PPU, I can save it here. So that's how you publish it. So if it's published, and now it's published in the premium capacity, which is PPU, and if I want to edit this report again, if I don't have the file, I can go back and open the Power BI report builder again, but I can directly connect, get the file from my workspace. So if I go file and open, rather this PC local file or Power BI service, of course, it takes me back to my workspaces. So it will show me the workspaces, what I'm authorized to see, and go back to my paginated, and I see the demo there, and then I open it. Now, again, I can make the changes and whatnot. So that's kind of, if you don't, so you minimum need PPU to work with the paginated report. So any artifact which is published, and again, if you are a report author and you have permission on a PPU capacity, you publish it there. Any user who need to access those paginated reports, which is of course only available in PPU capacity, if you don't have a dedicated capacity, every user those users who need to access those files need PPU license. So it's not only you as an author need a PPU. Anybody who's accessing that workspace, which is a PPU backed workspace, need PPU license. So it's a generic, nothing to do with the paginated. It's just how the licensing works. So that's kind of how you publish it. And a couple of things I really want to go over just to show you guys, because we ran out of time. Other things what you can do here is like, for example, this is my report which is being published. What I've done here is I connected. So again, this is a highly formatted export. This thing is what I did is this is my Power BI report which we saw in there. So what I'm doing here is I'm slicing and dicing the data by customer, by product, by date range, and all the stuff. Now, for example, if I'm the end user, whatever I have selected here, if I wanted it to be exported out in a nicely formatted or whatever the use case is, what I did here is I created a button which is calling a Power BI paginated report, passing all the parameters to the report, and then exporting it out. So just to quickly show you, so I click on that button. Having said that, this functionality might not be required going forward because there is, as a part of the new paginated report, visual is coming within the Power BI, and this will take away. But until now, as of today, until that visual is come again, I don't know how that's going to work and how does it's going to, but it seems like pretty amazingly awesome. So now what I have is this paginated report called from Power BI report and being exported out to an Excel file. So you can do a lot of other things as well. Like, for example, I have a customer statement here. Again, paginated reports created. So for example, you have a different customers had a different look and feel of the report. So I created like a demo statement V1, 2, 3. So for example, if somebody needs V2, it might have a different look. So what I am like, this guy need a V2 format. So I created a link again behind the scene. I'm calling paginated report and passing the parameters, and then it is creating the report for me. So there's a lot more things you can actually bring it together. To finally wrap it up, I just want to quickly go over this where we are. Again, we talked about, do I need to pay for Power BI Report Builder? Not exactly. It's similar like Power BI Desktop. You can download it free, but you need a Power BI Premium and PPU as well, so to publish and share the reports. But for the purpose of open, today you are not a Power BI, you are only Power BI Pro. You don't have PPU, but for the purpose of playing with it, you can surely go download Report Builder, connect to your data set, and then start authoring reports. Best practices, again, copy and paste your DAX code from Power BI. We saw how it is. If you don't know much about DAX and whatnot, try to do everything in Power BI Desktop. From Performer Analyzer, grab the query, bring it down here, and then from there onwards, make the changes. I mentioned about remove table names in the DAX query. Wherever there is a measure, put the table name. Always remove the table name. And always add a measure to your query. As we saw, if we're a customer product, we're doing it together. It's a full join Cartesian prod, the whole list showed up. And here now, if we have the measure, that filters down that particular data set we are working on. I will share this. There are a few links I mentioned here where you learn about paginated reports, URL parameters, what I'm calling from Power BI, how you do that. There's a YouTube videos, paginated reports in a day, I think, from Chris Finland, who is a program manager for paginated reports at Microsoft. And also have a link to where you can understand more about RS Custom DAX Filter, what it does. Having said that, that's pretty much it. And thanks for being here and listening to me for the last hour and a half. Again, if you have any questions, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me an email. My phone number is here. I'm very active. I'll try to be, you can email me. And if you can scan this code and leave your feedback, it helps me to see how better I can do and build future content or demos and whatnot. Please share your feedback, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
1 second. All right, Parvinder, we have you here back on camera. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank you very much for making the time to be here with us and deliver this great presentation where we had an opportunity to learn about Power BI Premium User or PPU, and in respect to developing here paginated reports, we talked about license, we talked about parameters, as well as best practices that you outlined there to streamline and optimize the process as well.
Yeah, glad I could share all that.
Really appreciate. I also like to thank everyone who was able to join us here today, taking time of your day, and I'm quite sure you did learn a lot. Now, whether you arrived at the beginning of the session and was able to watch throughout or just a piece of it, this video will be available for you to review. And remember, at that time you have to drop a comment along with your questions on the comment section, and we will follow up here with Parvinder. And we really appreciate. We had an audience from around the world. There was UK, Australia, Canada, US. It's pretty diverse, I would say. As you.
Power of virtually.
Really appreciate. And so if somebody has any question, still have a minute here as we bring to a close. Use the live chat and enter. Right here saying, Ashraf saying, thanks Parvinder so much for the great session. And Carmen G as well, thanking the session, very informative, really appreciate the presentation. Now also for the audience and those watching after the event, or better said on demand, on May 18th we will have our next presentation, which is going to be a Power BI storytelling, a practical application with Megan Longoria will be presenting. So you will see, great session that indeed, Parvinder.
Indeed, it is. Yeah.
So we'll be posting it in Meetup, and either today, no later than tomorrow, so you can sign up and register. So remember, will be Power BI storytelling, a practical application, and you also you saw the information here for Parvinder, how to get in touch with him. And if you miss it, look down this video on the description section where it says show more, expand. You will see his information there, his website, his LinkedIn, so you have no excuse not to be able to get in touch there.
Anytime.
All right, with that, let me just double check any questions. See Nigola also saying thank you Nigola. And that's about it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed. Look forward to see you all again on the next session. And remember, just come back here, check out this video that will be posted on the playlist for the South Florida Power BI user group. Parvinder finished his what is that, coffee or tea?
Yeah, coffee, finally.
All right, man. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Parvinder. Thank you very much, everyone. And see you all next time.